I guess for the ones that don't know me that well, I've had a 6-year career in the A-League with Central Coast Mariners, short stint with Newcastle Jets, more recently in 2020. And then I guess everything outside of that is all NPL-based football, which a lot of you would be familiar with. So Rockdale City Suns for the bulk of it, Southern Sharks last year, and now Sydney Olympic. So I guess the reason why we're having this sit down tonight and this seminar is just to kind of educate everyone that there is life outside of the A-Leagues here in Australia and professional football here in Australia. There's a very small window to be successful. And again, it's I think these little opportunities that you can pursue, combining your football with your academics, is second to none. I know here in Australia, one of the biggest things that I kind of came across growing up with, mum and dad was, you've always got to have a backup plan. Specifically, going to Endeavour Sports, which was a sports high school, which some of you do go to currently now. It was always about, if your academics fail, well, then your football will fail. If your academics aren't up to scratch, then no more football. And I think for a lot of Australian-based players, we live in this beautiful country where it's very easy to get comfortable and always fall back onto our fallback plan. So football doesn't work out. We can get a job and we can go to university here and on with life. I think these U.S. Sports Scholarship opportunities provide an extra leg for players that want to prolong footballing or soccer opportunities for another 4 years, as well as walking away from these opportunities with something a little bit more than that. When I say something a little bit more than that, a degree in whatever field you feel like, is your lane, whether that be a sports degree somewhere, a business degree. I'm sure everyone's got a range of ideas as to what they would like to do down the track. But again, this is kind of just a gateway to open everyone's minds up and to kind of set in stone some, I guess, plans for the future. And whether that be, we do want to pursue an opportunity overseas with the U.S. Sports Scholarship programs. And again, you could walk away from tonight with an idea as to this is not what you want. But I guess we're going to sit down tonight and basically just run over exactly what the program's about, a little bit of info as to how you can do it. And then, as Liam said before, if you have any questions, if you feel comfortable saying them on here, great. If you don't, again, you can message me privately. Happy to answer any questions outside of this video chat as well.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Mickey. Great insights there. I was going to say, anyone who's just arriving late, if you're able to just mute your microphone, that'd be great, just so there's no interference. But feel free to unmute yourself to ask any questions. I guess I've got one question for you, Mickey, before we kind of head straight into the content, which is obviously your route, and not everyone's as lucky as you to be able to make it and actually play in the A-League and become a pro. Was America an option that you were looking at, or just was it not on the radar at the time, or it wasn't as common knowledge?
Look, it wasn't as common knowledge back then, but this was probably the direction that I was going to head down. It was highly likely, actually. My parents were looking into it. My brother went to Carringbar High School, and for a lot of you that are on here now, you'll understand it's an academic school. So for them, academics was very important to the degree of, we want you to do both for as long as you can. I was fortunate enough to get an A-League contract at 17. Not many players get that opportunity. It's a small percentage of players. So this was a thought. If I didn't go down the pathway of pro football as young as what I did, this was definitely going to be what I was going to do. And I still look back in time now, no regrets with obviously the pathway that has led me to where I am now. But I do often think about what if I had done something a little bit different, and where that may have led me with both, I guess, a degree side of things, studying in a specific field. I would have definitely chosen, the exercise physiology part. And again, you prolong that opportunity to be a pro footballer. So for the ones that aren't familiar with US football now, it's a forever growing market. Once upon a time, the A-League did coincide with it. It wasn't far off one another. I think if you look at the US and where they've gone with not only their top division, but their top 4 divisions now, more so male, females not too far off, I believe. The opportunities are endless. And for me, it's a no-brainer. So that's kind of where I was heading with it all.
Yeah, no, it's really good insight, and you made some good points there in the fact that America can be a great compromise in that you're not giving up on the dream or the aspiration of whether it's playing pro or playing the highest level possible. Like, for example, Mickey, you know, obviously you're always going to take that A-League contract. However, you could have gone to the States, got your degree, and got an MLS contract. You know, so it's a really good compromise. And if you're a top level player, you're going to get a big scholarship, and therefore it's realistic that your costs are going to be very low with that. Now moving on, I don't want to bore you too much, and obviously I've got a terrible picture there and wasn't as good a player as Mickey is, but there is evidence that once upon a time I was a player as well, and to be honest, similar background in that all I wanted to do was become a professional soccer player. And I was at a club in the UK called Ipswich Town, who hopefully some of you have heard of. We used to be good, I promise, but not so much now. They have been in the EPL, but essentially I was there from the age of 9 until 19. And yes, I continued with my studies, but probably neglected them a little bit because unfortunately when you're at that age, you're quite delusional, I guess, that like everything revolves around that club. You're going to make it as a pro and kick on, when the realities are under 1% of, you know, academy players make it as a pro and even get to the stage that Mickey has. And then what you find is under 1% are still playing at that top level in that country by the age of 24. So soccer is a really short career. And again, going back to it, I'm coming at it from a biased angle, but for me, it was just the perfect compromise. So I'd been told I wasn't getting a pro deal. I'd had 4 knee operations in 2 years, so it wasn't any surprise to me at that point. I probably had more surgeries than games. So what I did was, and I went through a company that was meant to provide services like us, but had a terrible experience to the point where I had to take a gap year because they hadn't informed me about things like entrance exams, which I hadn't taken. I failed the eligibility center. So things which are just mad, obviously, given what we do now. And therefore I played semi-pro for a year. I then went out to a school in Chicago called Illinois Tech, which I won't ask if anyone's heard of because you won't have. But that was part of the fault. Again, I was placed at a school where academically was very good, but actually soccer-wise wasn't a good fit for me. And therefore maybe the stats reflect that I did fairly well as a forward. I got, you know, a fair amount of goals, including not being on penalties. I'll always add that. But yeah, look, it was a life changer for me because all I'd cared about was football. And although I had the academic ability, probably didn't apply myself. Whereas out there, I graduated with straight A's. I got academic All-American of the Year for the whole country, 2011 and 12. And long story short, it was just a complete life changer for me. Went on to get my master's degree, started this business following graduation. And then, we've just grown the business from there. Obviously looking to grow our presence in Australia through Mickey and his team. We've got a couple of other guys as well who work on rugby, as well as obviously Mickey on soccer in Australia. And last year I was inducted into Hall of Fame at the university I went for. So as cliche as it sounds, it was a complete life changer for me, because prior to that, I was, as I said, playing semi-professionally, working in a part-time job, and really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So anyway, that's enough about me. I'll get into the core content. So why would you even look to go into the States? And also, disclaimer before I start, I will speak a lot now for the next 25 minutes. Feel free to stop me at any stage, but the idea is to give you a real good overview of everything about the process. Now, the key factors here is America is a huge place, and I definitely underestimated that. I was probably looking at like 1 or 2 universities in the UK prior to looking at America. There's over 5,000 colleges in the States and over 2,500 soccer teams in terms of universities. So massive amount of options, but really important that we, me, Mickey, and the team get you placed at a university that is a good fit for you academically, athletically, location-wise, and importantly, financially as well. So if you look at fully appreciate, people on the seminar are going to be at different stages of the process. Some of you might be looking at universities in Australia. Over 95% of athletes in America on scholarship are paying significantly less for university than if they're in their home country. Comparison, my sister went to university in London, got herself in over £80,000 worth of debt, which she was paying off the next 10 years following graduation. My score was $160,000 over 4 years in Chicago, and I was able to graduate debt-free. So financially, it can make a lot of sense as well. And the sheer scale of it will be highlighted by the stats here. So over 800 of those unis are offering over $25,000 in athletic scholarship a year, obviously adding up to over 100,000 in 4 years, which I know is mad. It's basically saying, look, Mickey, you're a good player. Let's give you 100 grand just to come and study at our university and play for our team. So unbelievable opportunities. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously top universities in Australia as well, but I do think nobody does it quite as good college sports outside of America, that they literally are the best. And having done it myself, I'd say it's the closest thing to being a professional athlete without being one. And if you look at other sports, even like golf, even Tiger Woods went to Stanford, Michael Jordan went to North Carolina. All of these college athletes who go on to become world superstars have been through that college system. So it really prepares you well for that next stage of your career, no matter what level it's at. Also, normally I would ask, like, where's everyone been, but wary of time. But it'd be interesting to know if any of you've been to the States before. Often Florida's a real popular one. I think everyone wants to go to Disneyland. Obviously, Mickey's in San Fran right now from the looks of his background. But yeah, real good opportunity to study in some of the world's greatest cities. I said, obviously I'm from the UK, but I went to over 20 states during my 4 years there. We used to go to Florida for pre-season. We played teams in New York, and obviously we're based in Chicago. So really amazing opportunity. And yeah, like, just go on our YouTube channel, look at the days in the life, or like just go on YouTube in general. Everyone's got social media. American college sports are unbelievable. Like, you can literally be playing in front of thousands, games on ESPN. You're flying to games, you're training twice a day, you eat. I'm depressed when I think how unfit I am now compared to when I was at college, but there's no excuse not to be in the shape of your life, because you're given all the resources you need. And then, yeah, coming back to it financially, it can make a lot of sense. And look, there's a lot of Australians in the States. Like, we had 4 guys on our squad, and I'll talk about one actually later, but he's taken that opportunity and really ran with it. So we'll talk about him in a bit. Again, won't spend too much time on this slide, and Mickey might be able to add some context as well, but there's various different college governing bodies and divisions in America. Some of you might be sitting here and thinking, look, I'm a good soccer player, but actually academically, I'm not amazing. That's fine. There's routes for you as well. But if you are good academically, obviously, then that opens up even more opportunities. So again, I would normally ask, but a lot of you might have heard of the NCAA, which is the most well-known governing body for college sports in the States. There's over 1,500 programs out there, and they play across, as you can see here, Division 1, 2, and 3. Now, Division 3 doesn't give athletic scholarship, therefore it's not really of interest to you or us unless you've got a big budget to work for. Naturally, they can be very good academically. D1 and D2, a lot of people always say, well, I want to go to a Division 1 program, without realizing that it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best fit, because teams can't get relegated or promoted. So you could be the best Division 2 team in the country and able to beat majority of Division 1 teams. It doesn't, you're not going to get promoted to Division 1. And the same, you could be a Division 1 team and lose all your games. You're not going to become a Division 2. But hopefully the key thing you get from this slide is, like, the facilities can be incredible regardless of what division or governing body you're playing in. I actually, although I said I wasn't, guided towards a good school for me soccer-wise, played at the NAIA. If you look at the NCAA, I said there's over 1,500 programs. The NAIA is not as well known. There's about 250 schools. However, what I would say is we used to play NCAA teams all the time and beat them. So again, it's not necessarily a direct correlation of whether the team's strong. Outside of that, what I did say was, in terms of if some of you aren't that academic, you could go to a 2-year community college, also known as an NJCAA. As you can see there, the facilities can be super good as well. I mean, obviously that's an American football one. And there's loads of pros and cons to whether you go 2-year or 4-year. We have some players who want to go 2-year route because they think it could be a better way to get spotted. Because if you're at one of the best 2-year schools in the country, you could then get picked up by one of the best 4 years, having done your 2 years there. So still 4 years total, and your degree comes from where you finish, not where you start. And if you look at Major League Soccer draft this year, the guy who got drafted third, so third best player in the country, he started at a community college, did really well for 2 years, got transferred into Syracuse. they won the national tournament, he's now a pro. So again, I'll always say it, you get given the opportunity, you run with it, and who knows where you could end up. And then just to throw a kind of left wing thing out here is that U Sports is actually universities in Canada. We're obviously here to talk about America, but about 3-4% of our athletes do go to Canada as well. So, there's more opportunities with that. Before I move on to the next one, Mickey, is there anything you had to add on that at all? Or
No, that's covered everything, I think.
cool.
Mate.
What I would say again, I feel like I'm keep pushing it, but if you go onto our YouTube channel, there's like day in the lives with players from all of these. And for example, Creighton there, one of the guys, he just got made a pro out in Canada. He was playing in front of like 3,000-4,000 people every game at college. I don't know what attendances you're getting, Mickey, but
No, nowhere near that. No, we don't even get anywhere. We'd be lucky if some of our top Division A League games get that sometimes. So that just puts into perspective where I guess Aussie football is.
Yeah, and also like
this
kid got released by a team in the UK called Colchester, and they're averaging like probably 1,000 a game, and they're professional. He's then got released by them, has gone out to America and is playing in front of 3,000-4,000. So unbelievable opportunities there. This slide hopefully makes more sense now that I've just gone over the different divisions. As I said, NCAA and NAIA for 4-year, NJCAA for 2-year. I'll leave it at that because we could spend a whole hour on that. And again, we can always, what I would say, there's an hour-long version seminar where I probably go into a little bit more detail again on our YouTube channel. And then Netflix recommendation for everyone. I'm pretty sure we all completed it during COVID, but there's a TV series on there called Last Chance U, and each season they follow a community college. So feel free to give that a watch. You can get insights, but you'll see facilities are still good, players are still very talented. But the key message you'll get from it is players want to do as well as they can selfishly. So how good are my grades? How good are my stats? So then they can get moved on to a top NCAA or NAIA program for their final 2 years. Now, again, one last thing about the NAIA is Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman both went to NAIA schools. And again, I don't think they had bad careers, right? So it's not about, I need to be at this school, I need to be here first. Work hard, grow with it, and who knows where you can end up. Moving on, in terms of scholarships, I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but the key message is, if I'm sure you're all really talented players because obviously you get in top coaching from Mickey, is if I had 20 Mickeys and I wanted to sign all of them, unfortunately I can't, because one key message, and I naively thought that when I went out to the States, is look, I'm a decent player, I've got good grades, I want a full scholarship offer, at these schools, they are limited. So, say for example, Division 1 here, if you can see, the coach has 9.9 scholarships, call it 10. Well, if they've got a roster of 30 players, he could just have his 10 best players paying nothing and then the 20 other players paying full. Or he could split it a third between all 30. And another element which comes into play is luck, because obviously, Mickey, you're like a fullback wingback.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I've got 3 of them already, as much as I like him, I'm not going to give him a massive scholarship to come and sit on the bench for me, right? So there's an element of luck in what positional needs they have as well. So key point from this is like, it's not one where you can just research schools and go, I want to go there, because if they're not looking for a player in your position, it's just not going to happen. But again, look, we've got a massive coaching network. We know what the recruitment needs are, and obviously we can then guide you towards the right ones. Entrance exams, real fun topic for you on a Sunday evening, talking about exams. I'm sure you're absolutely loving that. Again, with this pre-COVID, I would say it was probably like a 7 out of 10 importance, because every 4 years, so NCAA or NAIA, needed it in order for you to be able to play. So you'd have to pass it. Now, during COVID, it probably wasn't a good idea to get 50 strangers in a room to sit an exam. So the NCAA and the NAIA actually said, look, we don't need it anymore. It's optional. However, just because the governing bodies, the NCAA and the NAIA, say that they don't need it for you in order to be able to play, it doesn't mean that those thousands of universities have dropped it as a requirement of their own admissions procedure. Therefore, long story short is, before you get excited and think, I'm not going to have to take it, we do recommend all our athletes taking it. Now, if you're looking to go out next year, we need you to take it before the end of October, and we're now in July, so not a huge amount of time. Whereas if you go in 2025 or 2026, you've got time with that. There'll be test centres all throughout Australia. There's 6 test dates throughout the year. For our athletes, we provide practice exams, helpful videos. We've got partners that can give online tuition. So Yeah, look, they're not going to make it too difficult, because you think pre-COVID, you need all of those hundreds of thousands of athletes to pass it. However, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it well. And some schools do give academic scholarship based on your entrance exam score. 99% of our athletes do the SAT exam. The ACT is more of a European equivalent. So whenever we're talking about it, we would mainly talk about the SAT. But yeah, I think that's enough about exams for a Sunday evening. So I'll move on. I guess a little bit about us, because for some of you, it will be completely new hearing about us. Obviously you all know Mickey, but in terms of like how we operate, as I said, if you go back to my own experience, I had a really bad one where the company I went through was very much high volume, didn't care if anyone was even good enough for America. It was just about money making. I felt like I had to do the whole process on my own, which long term has been beneficial in terms of what we do now. So the way that we operate is, even though we only offer 25 places on our men's and women's soccer program each year, so a 50 cohort, we get over 20,000 applications a year across all sports. Now, you might think that's quite strange, but the benefit to you as a player, something that me and my colleagues who started the business never got, was that personal attention and care. So if you're selected to be one of our 25, we're going to guide you from when you start the process all through to graduation. And even though obviously we've got a smaller cohort, we have placed over 1,200 athletes now. This needs updating at over 700 different colleges in over 40 different states. So I guess the frustrating but also exciting part of the process is, until you start it, you just don't know what schools are going to be interested in you. But yeah, it's our job to make the whole process as stress-free as possible and make sure you're guided towards the right school, not the wrong school, like when I went through the process. So yeah, and then selfishly, from a business perspective, coaches want to work with us because they know that we're only working with top student athletes. So our model of that works really well. And then, without boring you on the detail, we've then added more sports over time. So rugby, golf, track and field hockey are our main ones outside of soccer. But yeah, obviously, look, the main focus has been since day one soccer. We've got a Trustpilot page. So again, we always want to be as transparent as possible. You can chat to other parents and players, whether that be in Australia or overseas internationally. I think that's always reassuring. And Mickey can help facilitate that as well. In terms of our partners, we work with every single college in America that provides scholarship opportunities. As I said, we've placed athletes at over 700. Naturally, some of them aren't well tuned in order to attract internationals because they might be too expensive, which will explain why. Well, why haven't you worked with all 2,500? Well, that'll be why. Some of them might be like $70,000, $80,000 a year, and therefore not financially feasible for a lot of people if you're an international. And yeah, look, we work with loads of pro clubs, semi-pro clubs all throughout the world across various sports as well. Now, I want to give a quick overview in terms of how we help our athletes. So first and foremost, everybody who's on this call right now, or obviously players, not parents, you can literally sign up to our online package today. Now you get access to our online platform where you can research all the schools, watch the campus videos, learn more about them. I get there's something called Google, but I think it's helpful to have it in one central area where you can go, look, I want to look at a D1 school in New York. Then it brings up relevant information. I would have personally found that really beneficial when I went out to the States. As embarrassing as it is, I literally think I only went to Chicago because I'd heard about the Chicago Bulls and thought that was cool. We barely had internet back then, so there wasn't the resources you've got now with campus videos. And as I said, our website's full of loads of helpful information as well, so feel free to check it out. So you've got the online platform, you can research all the schools. Your profile would be live on our coaches website, which is accessed by over 800 coaches every month, the same as if you were one of our fully premier paid athletes. And you can attend our trial events for free. So in the process with Mickey to organize an upcoming trial as well. So yeah, that's like the entry level where somebody's first starting with us and in the process of looking to go to America. The step on that is called an academy athlete. And again, look, there's more information on the website. I don't want to use the next 20 minutes just doing that, or 10 minutes as it's saying here. But essentially, you get given all the resources that you need in order to manage the recruitment process yourself. So this is really well suited to maybe someone's like 14, 15, starting the process. Because what you might not realize is coaches can't legally contact you until 2 years in advance of you going. So therefore, this package is perfect for somebody at that age because you're still getting everything you need. The element that's missing is us actively promoting you to coaches, but legally we can't anyway. So this is the next entry level. So you've got the online package. This is the academy one, the step up, where, as I said, look, we're one of the longest established in the world at doing this. We give you all the information, step-by-step guide on how you would manage your own recruitment process. Or, as I said, it's good to start the process on this, and then you can always upgrade to the next one, which leads me on, which is the Premier Athlete package, if you're one of those selected 25. So this is literally end-to-end service. So it would be probably a combination of Mickey and myself would be your designated reps from when you start. Say, for example, you're looking to go even in 2025, 2026, you get all that service, plus obviously represented for the 4 years while you're out there. Now, this doesn't just involve the thing we're going to get judged on, which is getting you interest and offers, so acting like a soccer agent, but actually, you know, supporting you with converting your grades, visa, admissions, eligibility centres, health insurance, flights, and another really important factor is transferring. Now, again, my experience, I did 2 years. I loved it in Chicago, but I was doing really well, like getting a lot of goals. I knew I could have transferred over to a top Division 1 program and maybe gave myself a chance to go and pro. Now, the company I went through, we didn't have WhatsApp, so I wasn't getting ghosted. I was just getting ignored on email. They wouldn't support me at all, even though they said that they would. With us, there's no additional fees, and it looks good for us as well if we can move you on to a top school. For those of you listening that are men's soccer players, every player that we've ever had go pro has started at a school, proven themselves, and then we've transferred them over. So again, that transfer part can be super important. And look, in terms of like this package, is to make everything as stress-free as possible. So the only thing you need to worry about is the SAT exam, and then obviously having those calls with coaches and deciding where you want to go, and we'll guide you with that. Wary on time, but I could go into more detail on this, but it's really about that personal touch. So WhatsApp group with you and your family, so we're in constant communication, regular video calls for that. We have a spreadsheet where we can update information on any school that's interested in you. So yeah, everything that I would have wanted going through the process is what we deliver for our clients, and biased on that, but I'd say we are the best in the industry at doing that. Now, again, skipping through some of these, this is the athlete's website that our coaches access. So American coaches can log in. I want to look for a men's soccer player who's got these grades, this position for this year. Okay, here's a track and field example, but highlight videos, which Mickey and our team can help you with. Luckily, you know, 12 years ago when we started, we were having to film ourselves. A lot of people, you have VO or you film your games yourself. So, you know, we put together the highlight reel. That's going to be super important, because if I say, oh, Mickey's this dynamic, rapid fullback, and then there's 5-minute clip of him not getting forward at all or getting no crosses or assists, they're probably not going to go, let's give him $200,000 to come and play for us. So as much as they respect our opinion, and we know them on a personal level, football is subjective, soccer, sorry. And at the end of the day, you know, I might think that Mickey could be a great fit for a school, but the coach might say, actually, we don't think he quite fits the needs of what we're looking for. I'm sure this all sounds amazing, you know, live in Florida or New York or Miami, get to play soccer every day, potentially come out debt free. As I said, unfortunately, we can't, you know, look at your video or Mickey's watched you play, look at your grades and say, look, you're going to get these amount of offers with these amount of scholarships. But hopefully from this short overview, you know, you'd have seen that our personal care, we can, you know, guarantee that we give you the best chance of getting the best possible scholarship for your ability levels. And without sounding like a teacher, there's still a lot that's down to you. Obviously, for those of you that haven't done your high school grades yet, how you do with them, or further education grades as well, how you get on when you're filmed, how you get on with your SAT, and ultimately where you look to go, because I loved Chicago, but that might be your worst nightmare. So it's important when you have those calls with coaches, both you and your parents, if possible, or parental guardian are on those calls, because when I went out, all I cared about was like, how many fans did we get and how many games did we win? Whereas my mum was more concerned with safety, food, accommodation, insurance, and also when you're thousands of miles away, are you confident that coach is going to look after your son or daughter? Because that's really important as well. But again, look, we're there to guide you with that. Again, wary on time, but you know what I would say is Matt is a great example here from the UK. He ended up becoming a pro and drafted into Major League Soccer. He did transfer. He also leveraged what's called the USL2, which again we can do another seminar on. But that's the summer league out there where the best college players play. That's where you get the exposure to potentially go pro. And yeah, again, these are other examples of. In fact, I think all of these players here went out. So they came to one of our trial events, went out, started at a school, be it NAIA or NCAA D2, proved themselves for 2 years. Then we moved them on to top Division 1 programs where they graduated debt free. So all of these, and again, there's more information about them on our website. I really realized and appreciate that was a real rapid tour in terms of America and also our play and our services within that. The last thing which I forgot to mention earlier, before I go into the FAQs, is the way I graduated debt-free was the school I went to was $40,000 a year for tuition, food and housing. My scholarship was 32, and the reason we had like 4 Australians, a lot of Brits, a lot of internationals was half of our costs were covered just because we were an international student, which was amazing. And then the other half was because of the soccer in the form of athletic scholarship. The remaining balance, the $8,000, was then obviously down to me and my family, well, basically my mum, to contribute. So you might think, well, how did you graduate debt-free? With a student visa, you can work on campus, and I use that term loosely because it wasn't hard work at all. And I was earning about $5,000 to $6,000 a year, so more like 6. So therefore, the net was only 2, and that was how I was able to graduate debt-free. So that can be real important. So are you eligible? Feel free to go on the website, ussportsscholarships.com/apply. It takes 2 minutes to fill in. You'll then obviously put Mickey as your referral, and then we can follow up. Highlight video about gap year. I'm not sure if that applies to anyone who's on the seminar today, but you could take a gap year after you finish education, take a year out. Talked about SAT exam. You can study whatever you want as long as it's at the university you're looking to go to, so it doesn't need what's related. And that's it. So hopefully that was helpful. I did warn you that I would talk a lot there. The next thing for us as a company is, and Mickey and his team out there in Australia, is we are looking for athletes for 2024, 2025, and to a certain extent 2026. Now, I get that might be like a bit crazy and think, well, why are you looking that for in advance? But if I'm a US coach and Mickey's my new fullback, I know I'm going to lose him in 4 years when he graduates. So they work on 4-year cycles. And obviously, if I'm an American talented player, I know that I'm going to go to university. Therefore, I start looking at like 14, 15. So it's super competitive. And that's where our value comes in because we've got those relationships with the coaches. I'll have a breath now. We've got 2 minutes left until the seminar runs out. So feel free for anybody to unmute themselves and ask any questions. Or, as I said, feel free to message myself or Mickey as a follow-up. Mickey, have you got anything to add or wrap up beyond that?
No, I think beyond this, if anyone has any kind of questions, I'll probably see some of them this week, or it is our holiday period here now, so plenty of time to have a chat, and go over any queries or questions basically.